Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. Some nights begin with quiet promises, a simple evening, a small house. But when darkness waits for a child to be alone, it stops being a promise and becomes an invitation. Subscribe to the vault and never walk alone again. The house was ordinary, a one-story suburban home tucked at the end of a narrow street. A front yard scattered with fallen leaves, a porch light that buzzed faintly against the deepening night. Inside, Jason was pacing the living room, grinning to himself. 13 today, finally old enough in his mind to be trusted. He had begged for this moment. No babysitters, no check-ins, just him, the house, and the thrill of being alone. His parents had gone out for dinner. They'd kissed him on the forehead, gave the usual reminders. Lock the doors, don't open for anyone, keep the phone nearby. Then the car engine faded down the street, leaving the house wrapped in a hush that felt different than usual. Jason turned on the TV, scrolled through channels, and sprawled across the couch like he owned the place. The sense of freedom made him laugh under his breath. He raided the fridge for leftover cake. He flicked lights on and off just because he could. The clock ticked slowly. Night deepened. The neighborhood outside had gone still. No kids on bikes, no passing cars, just a dim stretch of quiet street. At first, the silence felt like power, but after a while, it pressed in. The kind of silence where every small sound suddenly mattered. The hum of the refrigerator, the settling creaks in the hallway, the faint rustle of the trees outside. He tried to ignore it, but the house had a way of sounding different when no one else was in it. Corners seemed darker, hallways stretched a little longer, shadows under doors held still, as if listening. Jason checked the back door twice, then 3 times. He laughed nervously at himself. This was supposed to be his victory night, his big moment. He wasn't going to act scared, but as he sat back down on the couch, something shifted. A soft thud echoed from somewhere near the back of the house. He froze, listened. It didn't come again. He told himself it was nothing. Maybe the wind. Maybe the house. But for the first time that night, he glanced toward the dark hallway and didn't like how it seemed to be waiting for him. Jason turned the volume on the TV up a little, pretending he hadn't heard anything, but his eyes kept flicking toward the hallway. Every few seconds, like something might appear there if he blinked at the wrong time. He got up and walked through the kitchen to the back door. Locked. He tested it anyway. Solid. He moved to the side windows, pulling at the locks just to be sure. Everything was in place. Still, that uneasy quiet settled heavier over the house. He tried calling his parents. No answer. Probably in the middle of dinner. He left a casual message just to hear his own voice fill the space. When he hung up, the TV screen flickered. For half a second, the image warped. Not like static, more like the picture had been bent. Jason frowned, tapped the remote, and it returned to normal. Then came the knock. A slow, deliberate tap on the front door. He froze. His parents hadn't said anyone was coming. No deliveries, no neighbors. He crept to the peephole. Nothing. The porch light glowed across the empty front step. No figure, no movement, just the night. He backed away slowly. His heart thudded against his ribs. Another knock, this time louder. He bolted to the kitchen phone, clutching it like a weapon. His fingers trembled as he started to dial his parents again. Then the line cut out. The phone went dead mid-ring. The silence that followed was sharp. Jason dropped the phone and ran to the living room. The TV had turned off on its own. In the blank screen, he saw his own reflection standing small in the middle of the room. And something else. Behind him, down the hallway, a shape was standing just far enough back that the darkness swallowed most of it. It wasn't moving, but it was there. He spun around. The hallway was empty. He told himself he imagined it. That's what his parents would say. Shadows, reflections, tricks of the mind. But deep down, he knew the difference between nothing and someone watching. Jason locked himself in the living room. He pushed the couch against the hallway entrance like a barricade. His hands were shaking now, but he tried to laugh. Then he heard it again. Not from outside, from inside the walls. A slow, scraping sound, like nails dragging against wood, moving toward him. The scraping grew louder. It moved from the walls to the ceiling, traveling above him like something crawling through the beams. Jason stared up, unable to look away. The sound stopped directly over the living room. Then came a single, heavy step. Dust drifted down from the ceiling vent. Jason backed toward the front door, but the knob wouldn't turn. It was as if something on the other side was holding it in place. He yanked harder until his palms burned. The lock refused to budge. The house lights dimmed, not off, just low enough that shadows took control of every corner. The hallway behind the couch darkened to a solid black, a black that felt alive. Something exhaled from within it. Jason stumbled back, clutching the arm of the couch. His breathing quickened. From that black hallway, a figure stepped forward. It was tall, too tall to belong in the house. Its head tilted in a slow, deliberate arc, like it was studying him. Its arms hung loosely at its sides, but its fingers were long, thin, and ended in sharp, uneven tips. Its eyes glowed faintly, like dying embers under ash. Its mouth was stretched into a grin that didn't move, didn't twitch, just stayed wide, as if carved into its face. Jason couldn't move. Every instinct screamed to run, but his body locked. The figure took a step into the living room. The air grew colder. The walls seemed to tighten. He darted toward the kitchen. A cabinet door slammed shut before he reached it. Then another. The sound of doors banging one after another echoed through the house, sealing every escape as the figure followed him without hurrying. It didn't need to rush. He grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter, held it up with trembling hands. The figure didn't react. It moved closer, the grin unwavering. Jason swung wildly. The blade passed through empty air. The figure was suddenly behind him. A cold breath grazed his neck. He screamed and fell against the floor, scrambling backward. His fingers brushed against the side door, unlocked. He didn't remember leaving it that way. He threw it open. Night air rushed in. He bolted into the yard, barefoot, stumbling across the grass toward the street. Halfway down the yard, he turned back. The figure was standing in the doorway, perfectly still, watching him, its glowing eyes fixed on him like it had been waiting for this moment all along. Jason ran barefoot down the quiet street, his breath ragged and uneven. Porch lights flicked on one by one as neighbors peeked out through curtains, confused by the sight of a terrified boy sprinting through the night. A man from across the street rushed out to help, throwing a jacket over Jason's shoulders and calling his parents. Jason couldn't explain what he'd seen. He stammered through half-formed words, pointing back at the house. When his parents returned minutes later, they found him shaking under the neighbor's porch light, refusing to step back across the street. Police arrived. They searched the house from top to bottom. Every door was locked, every window sealed. No footprints, no signs of forced entry. But Jason refused to go back inside. He swore the figure was real. He described its height, its grin, its eyes. The officers exchanged uncertain looks with his parents, but no one laughed. The way he spoke left no room for jokes. They stayed the rest of the night in a motel. Jason sat awake between his parents, staring at the dark corners of the room, waiting for the glowing eyes to return. The next day, sunlight made everything feel ordinary again, but something in Jason had changed. He wouldn't stay home alone anymore. He double-checked every lock. He started sleeping with the lights on. Weeks passed, but the feeling never left. One evening, while his parents were cooking dinner, Jason looked out the living room window. Across the street, near the tree line, a tall figure stood between the trunks. It didn't move. It didn't hide. It just watched the house with that same wide grin. Jason blinked. It was gone. But deep down, he knew the truth. The thing hadn't broken in. It hadn't forced its way through doors or windows. It had simply waited. And now, it knew he was ready to be alone. It still hungers. Some homes hold more than families. Some shadows don't leave when the lights return. Subscribe to the vault and never walk alone again. Listen in the dark, watch with the lights off. And if you're ever alone, make sure what's waiting in the hallway isn't waiting for you. We upload daily, and one night the story may be yours.